Chapter 15. Fated Mate. The time was approaching for Elsa to get inducted into the Opals. She had never felt what it was like being home before meeting the Opals, and therefore she was still struggling with the biggest dilemma of her life. She wasn't sure if she should jeopardize her future by speaking the truth, or simply forget about her past and live in the present. She didn't look as happy as she should be, and that bothered Noah, too. His eyes could not escape her restlessness. On the other hand, no matter how hard she tried, she was unable to ward off the memories of Raphael. Time and time again, she was feeling a pull towards him, as if he was calling for her. She knew it was impossible. The mate bond was only strong if two wolves mated and marked each other, and they hadn't completed the process. Also, she knew that it was not as strong as others described it to be. A person's choice had the highest power, and Elsa was not willing to go back to Raphael. It was not because she didn't feel the attraction anymore. Now and then she would yearn for Raphael, but as the days increased, her need for him decreased. She was beginning to feel belonged, and that made her feel complete and confident. Also, she believed that Raphael had made his choice with Divinia, and she was the other woman. She would never agree with being the other woman. Elsa loved Beatrice. Beatrice was everything she wanted to be. Beatrice was fearless and ferocious. She was confident and a warrior, not someone who was only a survivor. Beatrice was a free soul who dared to face any situation. Being Beatrice made her feel more like herself than she had ever felt in these 22 years of her life. She was not ready to give that up. She was not sure if it was selfish or selfless to not reach out to Raphael, but she wanted in her heart to be an opal. But the biggest question was if Beatrice would be a deceiver. Elsa was not a liar. There was still some time left for this induction, so she decided to go for a run and loosen up. Her head was hurting with all the negative feelings, and she'd been meaning to set Ayla free after last night, but was too afraid to do so. So without giving another thought, Elsa ran to the tree line and undressed. She hid her clothes in a nearby box and shifted into her glorious white wolf. As soon as she shifted to her wolf form, she felt free. She felt more connected to Mother Earth and her elements in her wolf form. She could feel the vibrations, and that kind of empowered her. She breathed the fresh air and felt rejuvenated. She growled as she made for the run. She could feel a water body nearby and made a run for it. It reminded her of the waterfall in the Red Moon Pack. Without blinking an eye, she ran towards it as fast as she could. It was a small body of water, like a large pond in the middle of the woods. There were different kinds of water flowers at one corner, and a few other colorful flowers surrounding the body of water. The atmosphere there smelled pleasant, and the scenery was serene. She had a soft spot for water bodies, and her happiness knew no bound to have found one. No wonder there were multiple times that she couldn't help but feel like she somehow didn't die that day because the water was protecting her. Any other wolf would have been dead the moment they hit the rock, and yet she had struggled till she felt Noah's hand saving her. She shifted back to her human form and jumped inside the pond. The moment the water touched her body, she could feel every cell in her body relaxing. She had no idea she was that tired and sore. She let the water work its magic on her while she simply floated around. But her alone time was short-lived. She could smell another wolf approaching towards her. By now she was very familiar with its smell. It was Noah. She knew it was not a coincidence anymore. He had followed her here. But she didn't want him to see her in this state. It's not that wolves are shy creatures. They have to shift a lot, and also they are hornier than humans. They have a higher sex need, and no one could go without sex for a long time. The only way they don't go and start fucking around everyone is when they get mated with another wolf. But for unknown reasons, Elsa felt shy and uncomfortable. She didn't wish that any other wolf would see her in that state. She suddenly felt as if she was deceiving Raphael, and that made her angry yet helpless. On the other hand, Noah's wolf emerged from behind the trees. His jet-black eyes looked for Elsa and settled on her beautiful, glowing face. Elsa's discomfort heightened as their eyes met, and she quickly turned to the other side. Noah was not a rapist, nor was he a wolf of loose morals. Yes, wolves were hornier, and he did feel attraction towards her, but he knew better. He turned into his human self and plucked a few wildflowers. He swiftly moved inside the water. Elsa's heart jumped as Noah neared her, but contradictory to what she had anticipated, Noah spread the wildflowers across the water body so that she could feel more comfortable. The smell of the wildflowers gave her comfort. She quickly grabbed those and put them around her. When she felt more secure, she nodded her head, indicating Noah could come in front of her. Without making a sound, he moved to face her. His heart was beating erratically. For some reason, her presence had that effect on him all of a sudden. Yesterday, she was just a wolf traveling with his pack, and today, she was silently and stealthily making her way to him. Elsa was still looking down when Noah came face to face with her. "Should I leave?" Noah questioned, seeing her discomfort. "It's okay. Thanks for the flowers. You're not like others." Elsa looked into his eyes. As their eyes met each other, Noah could feel a jump in his heart. He had no idea how he was even feeling any of it. Was it natural? It couldn't be. He cannot feel that way about anyone unless this was simply a man approaching a woman and not the wolves inside them. Elsa's eyes fell on the mark on Noah's upper torso, just below the shoulder line that had almost faded by now. It was not an uncommon mark. It was the mark of the mate bond. So was Noah already mated? Was that the reason Kira was not interested in him? She felt Kira had a thing for Noah at first, but she brushed it off. So this was the real reason? As Elsa glared at it, Noah felt a little discomfort. He was not sure why he was feeling like that. The mark had almost faded, and even he couldn't feel it anymore. There was no bump when he touched it there anymore. "You were marked?" Elsa questioned out of the blue, making Noah startle. "I was," he said, not going to deny the truth. "Chosen or fated mate? Where is she? How come I've never met her? And why is the mark fading? Is she—" That is when it dawned upon Elsa that probably his mate was dead by now. The mark fades as the days pass after a mate dies, giving the person freedom from its pull and the strength to go and choose another mate. Their moon goddess was not so ruthless as to deny someone a choice. Faded. She died long back. Almost 5 years have passed. Noah answered without flinching this time. She was his true mate. He was not going to shy away from saying her identity. Had she been alive, he would have been the happiest man alive. Her death was the reason he created the opals in the first place. "You miss her," Elsa comforted. "Every day. I had only just found Fiona when I lost her." Noah's voice broke as he remembered his troubled past. He didn't like talking about her, but he wouldn't hesitate a question about her. "She had a beautiful name. I'm sure she would be equally beautiful." Elsa tried to pacify him. She could understand the pain of losing a rare fated mate. "She was like the fresh air in the morning. She was very alive and talkative, unlike me. She was just an Omega by rank, but a Luna in her character. She was fearless and had strength in her character, and she died saving her pack from a rogue attack the same day we marked each other. She was the one that inspired me to create the opals." Noah had so much pain and pride while describing Fiona that Elsa felt sorry for his loss. She felt helpless. Noah had suffered as much as she had, or maybe even more. Yet he turned out to be a true alpha, driven by cause. Her respect for him only increased. She knew at that moment what was the right thing for her to do. She will never deceive a man of his honor. No matter how much Beatrice was appealing, she was Elsa, and she had the strength to shape her future, be whoever she wants to be, just like Noah. She would still only find happiness in accepting the past, not denying it. "I have a confession to make." Elsa looked everywhere but at him. She knew this could be the end of her time with the Opals, and she was not prepared for it, but she was doing the right thing. "I know something's been bothering you. I had to follow. You can trust me with your secrets." Noah encouraged her to speak her heart out. "It is rather a confession, like I said. I've lied about something, and I can't be an Opal with that lie. You have all given me a home I never had, and I can't betray it for my selfish reasons. Only if you believe in intentions and understand my reasons, then you should accept me as an Opal." She looked into his eyes as she pleaded forgiveness silently through her eyes. Noah was not expecting anything like this. "If you come clean now, as an alpha and a friend, if I feel right, I will support you." Noah had saved so many Opals by now that he knew everyone had their own story, and not everyone had the heart to accept them and talk about it with just anyone like that. He was a reserved man who had many secrets buried in his heart. "I'm not Beatrice. I'm Elsa Silver, an Omega from the Red Moon Pack. I'm an orphan. I was accepted by the Red Moon Pack out of pity after the Great War of the Moonlit City. No one ever loved me or befriended me because of the way I look, different from other wolves. That day I slipped from the edge of the cliff, I was rejected and betrayed by my fated mate right after we mated in the claiming. After a long life of loneliness, I just couldn't handle it and thought of ending my life. But I slipped before I could choose otherwise." Elsa briefed her life story in one go. As she remembered her time with the Red Moon Pack, her eyes watered. Before she could realize it, she was crying. Her heart ached, and she was again feeling the nerve-wracking pain that she had felt when Raphael had rejected her. Fumbling and stuttering, she elaborated on the story and her life with the Red Moon Pack, and why she had chosen to lie instead of accepting her true identity. Noah couldn't believe that such a strong wolf had been abused to such an extent that she couldn't even accept being a part of her wolf pack. He could only imagine what she had gone through. Elsa never gave away Raphael's identity, and Noah never felt the necessity to know any more about it. "I understand. You're Beatrice from today, and I would be proud and happy to accept you in my pack. I'm glad that today you fought your demons and defeated them. I would love to have you as an Opal. You have no obligation to tell your truth to anyone else if you don't wish. It's a secret I'll carry with me to my grave if you wish," Noah promised her. Elsa's eyes beamed with happiness, and tears of joy escaped her eyes. She was so excited and overwhelmed that she forgot their situation. All of a sudden she hugged Noah. That only made the air heavy and awkward as their skins touched each other. She broke the hug at a similar speed. She shifted inside the water, and she made a run back to the pack house of Pearl Moon, where she was staying for the time being. Noah looked at her retreating, beautiful and magnificent white wolf, feeling things that he shouldn't. He knew at that very moment, Elsa or Beatrice, she was also his redemption. Chapter 16. Induction. Elsa was more than confident in feeling herself after coming clean to Noah. She never dreamed of a day like this, when someone would truly accept her for who she was. She decided to share her true identity with everyone right after the induction ceremony. The moment had finally come when she would dedicate herself to the opals through the bond and the mark. She wore a white dress that almost matched the fur of Ayla. The dress had small stonework at the top, but it only expanded and covered most of the down areas, making it heavy, and the dress looked piously. The small white stones glistened under the blazing sun. There were a few murmurs that she resembled the goddess of the moon herself because of her pale skin and long strands of silver that went well with her glittering white gown. She looked beautiful, confident, and ready. It was in the midst of a large open space where probably all the official meetings of the Pearl Moon Pack took place. She stood at the center of the area, besides 4 other she-wolves. Many other wolves from the other packs surrounded them to see the ceremony. These girls wore dresses of various colors, gray, reddish-brown, gray-black, and brown, probably the color that best suited their fur. It made her feel belonged, the way everyone was free to accept themselves. She was thankful to Kira, who succeeded in getting this beautiful dress so quickly. The girl was something else. When this was over, she was going to reach out for friendship with Kira. Noah, Kira, who was the beta of the pack, Connor, the Pearl Moon Pack alpha, and their Luna, Teresa, and a few others stood on a small stage a few feet away. They were waiting for the sun to go overhead to start the ritual. Contrary to popular belief, the induction to a new pack usually takes place in the daytime rather than at night. That's because everyone is a part of the sun at the end. At night, the new member celebrated by going for a run and establishing the pack link with the other members of the pack, under the moon and guidance of the Alpha. Noah, who awaited the start of the ceremony on the podium, couldn't turn his gaze away from Elsa. He felt drawn towards her without his will. The pull he had felt for Fiona was so long ago that it seemed to have faded in front of Elsa. She was a breath of fresh air for him, but he needed to know something before he could make a decision. He was not a random wolf to follow his heart, but a rebel alpha. His position was far more intriguing. Shortly after, the doctor of the opals came running towards Noah. She requested a moment of privacy with the alpha. It stirred a lot of confusion, followed by a lot of murmurs. Elsa's heart started beating frantically. She couldn't understand what they were talking about despite her powers. They were extremely slow, far, and it was growing noisy out there. When Noah was back, he looked the same. There was no emotion, however, to detect anything. Elsa's heart calmed down upon realizing that whatever the doctor felt necessary to spill at a time such as this didn't necessarily tie to her. But there was something about the way she was looking at her now. It was as if she saw something impossible. It was unsettling, but she didn't want to bring any further attention on herself by having improper emotion. As the sun went overhead, a bell rang out loud enough to interrupt everything. Everyone's attention was now on Elsa, who looked splendid despite the restlessness underneath. One of the girls, wearing a brown dress, pushed her arm to indicate that she now had to walk toward the small stage for the ceremony. As Elsa walked towards the stage, everyone, including Kira, made space for her as they moved back. It was now only Noah waiting for her. There were all 3 elements placed that would help in the bonding process. As Elsa reached the podium, one of the girls got up and took the sand from the bowl and put it down in 2 circular formats for Elsa and Nora to stand on top of. That would connect Elsa and Noah to Earth while the ceremony progressed. She left the stage after she gave a nod to show her acceptance for Elsa in the pack. The second girl, who was the most friendly among them, Renee, took the stage and handed Elsa a fire torch. She nodded to Elsa to walk over to the stage. Elsa took the torch and looked at Noah. Noah gave her a soothing smile as he reached out his hand for her to walk over to the circle. That earned a loud cheer from everyone present there, except Kira, who was baffled. It was odd for Noah to show any emotion, and here he was uplifting someone's morale by giving a gesture? Too much and too new. The other girl left, showing her acceptance to Elsa. Then the third girl came, and she asked for Elsa's hand. It was the most difficult part. She looked towards Noah, hinting that it was time. Noah took Elsa's hand and swiftly shifted his hands to claws. Once his nails were long enough, he put a deep cut on Elsa's hand, as blood started dripping rapidly. Now it was Elsa's turn to do the same to Noah. He showed his other hand as Elsa, whose hands had already turned to claws, put a deep wound on Noah's hand to make her mark. There were many marks on the hand of Noah, each signifying a communication line. Elsa was feeling proud to be among them. Now that the bond got linked through blood, the third girl poured some water to seal it off, as Noah chanted something in an ancient language. Suscipe ex vinculum. Suscipe ex vinculum. And soon everyone from the Opals was chanting the same. Elsa joined them. Once the wound healed and the mark left in Noah's hand, the girl again washed their hands with water and nodded her head to show her acceptance for Elsa. The fourth and final girl, who represented the element air, got up on the stage. She blew a loud horn, loud enough for everyone to roar in joy as a new member got added to their pack, and she too nodded her head and left the stage, making Elsa officially a pack member of the Opals. Elsa was smiling brightly. Despite all the odds and her anxiety, she was finally an Opal. Noah looked happy, but there was still some hesitation that did not escape her eyes. Kira was now standing at the center of the arena. She was making some announcements about the celebration that was going to happen that night. There were a lot of cheers and hooting, but Elsa gave a questioning look to Noah. "If you were planning to reveal your identity to the pack, then don't," Noah whispered to Elsa. He was so quiet that it would have been missed even by a werewolf's hearing if it wasn't for her superior powers. Elsa couldn't fathom any reason why Noah would ask her not to reveal her true identity. Earlier that day he was fine and said that she could decide for herself. It must be related to whatever the pack doctor revealed to Noah. Elsa's heart was racing. She needed to get some air and to get some answers. But that's when Kira announced her name and asked her to speak to her new pack members. Elsa went blank for a moment. All the while she'd been preparing her acceptance speech, but now she had nothing to say. She looked at Noah, confused. Noah, who was still holding Elsa's hand and had forgotten to leave it post the ceremony, squeezed her palm a bit to lift her spirits. He gave her an assuring nod to motivate her a little. Elsa gave him a brief nod, and she looked at the crowd. "Hi. I would be lying if I said I'm not nervous. I mean, who wouldn't be who's still on their path for rediscovery, or, to be frank, self-discovery? But here, in Opals, I can see a forever home. I can see growing and being myself. The Opals are probably the only pack where everyone is equal. Here, though I am new, I'm beginning to make friends that I'm sure I will treasure my whole life. I'm happy that you accept me, with no questions asked, and for that, I'm going to be forever in your debt. Today, I pledge my life to the Opals." Elsa ended her speech with more confidence than she had at the beginning. The crowd burst into claps and roars. They were growling and hooting to show their support, and it was one of the rare happy times for Elsa. She looked at Kira, who was still standing at the center. She gave her a brief, assuring smile that boosted her confidence even more. And with that, the ceremony ended for the day. Elsa could hear a lot of voices in her head she was not supposed to hear. It wasn't clear, but they shouldn't be there in the first place. Don't wolves start communicating post the run? She was so different than the others. Anyone would think her to be of alpha blood. And she never knew her parents, so she could be one. She never felt any obligation to any alpha, be it Riker, Connor, Noah, or Raphael. But it didn't matter, as there was no way to ever find out. Elsewhere in the moonlit city, Raphael had called for a core meeting. The moonlit city had an internal power struggle. Even though the black moon was the strongest, they were not sufficient to run the economy of the vast, ever-growing city, which was overly populated with big and small packs thriving and battling an invisible Cold War. The second largest pack, the Silverlit, was a stubborn pack whose current alpha, Lucian, was strong and had resources due to their advantageous location. They maintained their distance from other packs and led a more secluded life, but they were always around when the matter was about the economy. They had several banks and real estate holdings all over the moonlit city, making them equally important. The room was weighed down with a heavy silence. It was difficult for the alphas of every pack to be sitting in the same room. Some of them were even sworn enemies, and others were friends. At the two opposite ends of the table sat Raphael and Lucian, never really reaching each other's eye and yet trying to show off their power through other means.
Alpha Raphael, are we here just to stare daggers at each other? If that was the case, I guess we would all die in a while,
Lucian gave in a grave tone. Many others laughed at his stupid joke, but Raphael scoffed. Had it not been a meeting that really mattered to him and held importance for the moonlit city entirely, he would already be dealing with his stubborn ass. He was the host, and everyone was in his territory, so he needed to behave.
If I had intentions of killing, you would be dead long back,
Raphael smirked. He knew he should not have said that, but he needed to show that he was still the most powerful. When they both were princes and not crowned, they had entered into some heated arguments. Raphael emerged as the victor, and that was the sole reason today Black Moon Pack was the strongest pack. Lucian could not take the insult well. He banged the table and he got up to leave the meeting. Raphael knew he needed to stop Lucian, as they would feed his help. He had the most of the area from the woodside, making it the safest region in the entire city. So if they had to create a stronghold somewhere to save their people, if a war erupted, they would need Silverlit.
Wait, Alpha Lucian. We have more pressing matters than our egos.
Raphael spoke as humbly as he could. It was probably the humblest thing he'd ever spoken to anyone. Lucian, despite their differences, knew him well. The matter had to be serious for the big bad Alpha to talk about compromise. He was curious and sat in his place, giving his head a nod.
What is it, Raphael? It better be as serious as you make it seem.
Lucian was serious.
It is. A war is coming. Soon,
Raphael said in a matter-of-fact tone. The entire room burst into whispers and grumbles, while a few reminisced about the last war and others exchanged their fears. After all, the Black Moons were not the only ones receiving survivors across the borders. Chapter 17. The Leader of Moonlit.
A lot of us have already sensed this in one way or another, and no matter if we are turning a blind eye or not, the war is coming towards us,
Raphael said with a much more serious tone this time. He wanted others to realize the importance and how it was weighing over the moonlit city.
Ha! Impossible. After the last war, our alphas have given a good message to others,
an arrogant leader from a comparatively larger pack mocked.
A lot died, too, because of their ignorance,
another alpha, Seth, from a smaller pack voiced out.
You fool! You're just a new alpha who couldn't even stay loyal to your real alpha, and you want to teach me? You shouldn't even be here.
The arrogant alpha banged his table with a look of fury. Seth's brother, on the other hand, was looking at him with mockery.
Everybody cool down. We all know Seth was unconventionally talented and strong. He and his brother shared different visions about how the pack should be. Seth is someone with a great mind and will. He can resist his elder brother's command and has gained his popularity in the territory. So he has every right to be here. Raphael stood behind Seth. Seth looked with pride. It was Raphael who was supported by Seth in his small rebellion.
His brother and Seth had different ideologies. Seth was more open and accepting, who believed in equality, while his brother was a conventional alpha. Raphael gave a small piece of land that he had gained from a rival to Seth to set up the Crystal Moon Pack. A lot of his previous pack members and estranged wolves followed him. He'd been a kind and just leader, even if his strength was not even 100 wolves.
"Seth, I wonder how long you're going to last as the Shadow Black Moon," his brother groaned.
But one eye from Lucian and he knew his place. He was not strong enough to challenge Raphael.
"We are not here to fight amongst ourselves. We have bigger prevailing issues."
Raphael released a prominent amount of power to keep everyone shut. He was tired of the persuasion method. Raphael was a big, dangerous wolf, and he would show that if required to discipline the paltry, stubborn ones. Lucian kept on watching the show without speaking a word. The Silverlit was a standoffish pack that only dealt with others for economic reasons and mating. They never accepted refugees, estranged wolves, or abandoned ones, no matter what. The only way they welcomed another was if a pack member chose or find someone as their mate from a different pack. They had their own pretty sturdy rules, and with the blink of an eye didn't mind exiling one of their own. But they were brawny warriors. In all honesty, they were a new pack established a few hundred years ago, but had grown strategically over time because of their abilities.
"Raphael, on what basis are you saying we are going to be attacked?"
Lucian finally broke his silence as he was growing tired of the constant bickering.
"Last year we received over 50 refugees from the Western Territory who have crossed the river overnight from a battle. Some are still recovering from their injuries that they got months back, so whatever is hurting them is a demon. These people call it the creature, and of course there are rogue wolves with them."
Raphael shared every piece of information he had on the attacks.
"Alpha Raphael is right. We too have received a refugee pack from the eastern borders."
Another small pack alpha, Manga, who was along the eastern side, agreed. A few other packs, including Seth's Crystal Moon Pack and Riker from the Red Moon Pack, agreed that they had received several refugees over the last year.
"But isn't the war beyond the river? I mean, anyone sharing the eastern border or closer to that of the northern side is impacted. It looks more like a refugee situation than a war to me, in all honesty."
The alpha of the third largest pack, Blood Moon, Travis, finally spoke for the first time that day. Blood Moon Pack was centrally located in the city, and that gave him the advantage to flourish and prosper.
"Travis, I think you should be most concerned. Last time a war happened, your pack was most affected, and your pack was ruined to be third largest pack,"
Lucian mocked. Raphael was not expecting to receive any support from Lucian, but it surprised him to see Lucian standing like that for him.
"How dare you talk to me like that, Lucian?"
Travis's eyes changed their color as he couldn't take the humiliation.
"That is another reason. You're too impulsive,"
Lucian scoffed as he lit his cigar.
"That's enough. Travis, you know Lucian is right, and here there are 20 other alphas and serving betas waiting outside, so do not commit the mistake of shifting and creating a brawl. And Lucian, though I appreciate your efforts, we are not here to fight each other, but the enemy out there."
Raphael had to use his alpha tone to control the situation. The meeting was turning out to be more troublesome than he had initially intended.
"I would say, what if Travis has a point, and it's not what you think?"
Lucian chuckled. He was playing around.
"Everyone here knows your pack's location is the safest place in the entire city. No one could get past all the packs and cross that wood to get inside your borders. But then we are talking about a refugee here. But what if the creature and the rogues, who are probably looking for some female, or God knows why, start raging a war across the moonlit city? Your turn to fight will be sooner than you anticipate. We will all fall like the Eastern Territory if we do not put up a united front."
Raphael gave a long alpha speech that made sense to most of the other alphas. He was turning out to be a leader born to rule all. The only thing he missed was his real Luna, Elsa.
"Who are they looking for?"
Seth questioned.
"I don't know yet,"
Raphael answered with honesty. But the smaller pack leader, Manga, had an answer to this.
"I think I know a little. They're looking for someone who was a pureblood.
I don't think that's possible.
They're simply going to wipe out everyone looking for someone who is not even there. The Truebloods died out a long time ago."
Hearing Manga's word, Lucian's body stiffened. It was impossible. His great-great-great ancestor who founded the Silverlet Pack was believed to have fallen in love with a she-wolf. She claimed to be from the pure-blood line, but she died in childbirth and her baby was stillborn. It was next to impossible that another pureblood managed to survive all these years in the shadow. But if it were true, he needed to find her and save her in honor of his ancestors.
"Did they say anything more about her?"
Lucian stood from his place and walked towards Manga. His eyes were glowing with a golden shade.
"No, this is all, Alpha Lucian,"
Manga said in fear. Lucian was too powerful for him. He looked at Raphael to pitch in and help him.
"Lucian, control yourself,"
Raphael growled. It interrupted his actions, and he quickly realized that his wolf had taken over him. He should not have let his emotions get the best of him.
"I am sorry, Alpha Manga, but this girl seems to be closer to our line. Our great ancestor was someone who married a wolf who claimed to have belonged to the purebloods. They together founded our pack, but she died in childbirth. Her child was stillborn. So I wonder who this person could be."
Lucian shared a few details about his lineage. No one knew this from before, and it came as a shock to everyone.
"So, Lucian, are you telling me that your lineage traces back to the pureblood?"
Raphael looked with disbelieving eyes.
"I am not sure, and I don't find us any more special than you know about us. It's a story passed down in our family. That's all I know, and could be wrong as well. But if what Manga says is to be believed, then there is a possibility she exists."
Lucian spoke his mind.
"Then we are certain she is not here in Moonlit, and more the reason we should not let it fall into the hands of the rogues looking for someone who does not belong in our city. If she is all that, I'm sure she will be able to handle herself."
Travis voiced his opinion. Most of the wolves agreed with him, despite Lucian and Raphael's interest to find out more about her. That was going to be their search. So in the end, an official committee was formed. Raphael headed the committee, and Lucian was second in line. All packs agreed to share any information they received about the war in the Eastern Territory with the committee. Though not all alphas agreed to train their female wolves, most of them seconded the idea. Lucian acknowledged creating a safe house for the weaker wolves in his territory to protect them. The moonlit city, under the leadership of Raphael, agreed to put up a united front against the common enemy, but who knew how long they would be able to stand together without falling apart? Elsewhere, in the Pearl Moon territory, Elsa was prepping for her first run along with other wolves. The first run will be with the Alpha and Luna, and then the entire pack headed by the Beta. But since Noah didn't have a mate, it would be only her and Noah. She'd been looking forward to getting any opportunity to be able to discuss with Noah, but he disappeared right after the ceremony, so the run would be the perfect opportunity to find out more. "You look good, Beatrice," Kira said as she entered the room. She rarely visited her room, so Elsa was confused to see her so abruptly. Understanding her confusion, Kira explained her purpose. "Elsa, I'm here to explain to you how to block the link and control the chain and where it flows. You would not like others to eavesdrop on you. Noah wanted me to explain this to you on his behalf, as he won't see you until you meet up at the tree line later." "You're so good. Can we be friends?" Elsa reached out to Kira, who readily took her hand and gave her an affectionate hug. She liked Beatrice, except for the interest that Noah was showing towards her. "I'm so glad we are friends. There's no one better who can explain to me how this works, Elsa said, smiling as they sat on the couch in their room. Kira explained to Elsa how she needed to focus and channel her emotion and concentrate towards the particular individual she wanted to link. She also explained that even though it was easy to connect to the wrong people, it was never safe to use MindLink with more than 2 persons if no Alpha or Luna was involved. Some betas could ensure for an additional person, but not beyond. No ordinary wolf could handle over 5 connections at a time. So even if there was an Alpha or Luna, it was unwise to go beyond 5. On the other end, Alpha, Luna, or Beta could interact with as many pack members as needed, provided other people were interacting with them and not each other. Kira also made her aware that she could end up dead by trying to establish a link with more than 5 wolves, even with a powerful werewolf present. It could be because of the excess drainage of strength. It sounded very complicated and detailed, but it was a piece of essential information that nobody seemed fit to tell her in her previous pack. She was glad Kira taught her well. She would keep that in mind throughout the night. However, Elsa could not help but wonder if that night the rogues in the Red Moon territory attacked her. Was it her who reached out to the entire Red Moon pack for help, or was it Raphael? The more she thought, the more she got confused. As the time neared, her dilemma increased. Who was she? Was she like the beast? Should she say something about it to Noah? Chapter 18. Revelations. It was a beautiful night. The wolves danced and feasted. Many wolves were already in the middle of sex, scattered almost everywhere. It was nothing that Elsa hadn't seen before. It was common to her kind. They had an excessive libido. Kira was shamelessly having sex with the Pearl Moon Pack's beta behind one of the trees. The Pearl Moon's beta had been pursuing her ever since the attack ended. He was smitten by her boldness and ferocity. But Kira had only one heart, and she had already given it to Noah many years ago. But she knew that she was not his mate. His mate had passed away a long time ago, and she had not yet met her mate. She secretly hoped that someday Noah would understand her feelings and reciprocate them. She even followed him blindly for years, but the recent developments between Noah and Beatrice disturbed her. Also, she was under heat. It's not that Kira was not sleeping with another guy and that she was a virgin. She had her first intercourse in the backseat of a car with her first boyfriend. It was just that Kira had a big crush on Noah, and it never got past that. Besides, she was a wolf. She couldn't deny the sexual impulses. The heat was unbearable, and it would force someone to do things they couldn't imagine. The Pearl Moon Beta was handsome and everything she needed at the moment. Her legs were throbbing for a release, and every time he pushed the length through her core, she groaned in pleasure. How much she wanted it to be Noah, but she was going to settle for this nice beta for the moment. As she moaned and groaned in pleasure, she saw Noah marching toward Elsa. She could feel the rage in her as her craving grew. Kira pushed the beta to the ground and towered over his sturdy, muscled body. She kissed his lips as she rode him crazily as if her life depended on it. Elsa sat by the bonfire by herself while everyone else enjoyed themselves. Some were high by now, while the majority were making out. She had hoped that Kira would be available, but she was busy with the beta of the Pearl Moon Pack. She had doubts about Kira and Nora, but lately she was getting to know the other side of him. And Kira was another person, so probably whatever she felt wasn't real. Elsa finally saw Noah approaching her. If it had been her older pack, Riker would have been stoned and would have screwed several chicks by now. But Noah seemed poised and in control. She wondered if he was like her. Was he able to resist the sex urges? "You look like you've seen a ghost," spoke Noah as he sat beside her.
No, nothing like that. I was just curious why you're not enjoying the party.
She spoke her mind freely. Recently she'd developed a connection with Noah and was able to talk more freely than she had ever spoken to anyone. Perhaps she was beginning to trust him. You mean not getting laid and getting wasted? Noah chuckled. It was the first time she saw him laughing. He looked more handsome when he was smiling. Noah had splendid features. He had dirty blonde hair. He stylized it backward while a few strands fell on his face, which suited his square face. Noah had a pointed nose and bright brown eyes. He could make a Hollywood hero run for his money with his look. Suddenly Raphael flashed in her mind. She couldn't refrain from experiencing the sudden pain in her heart. No matter how wonderful Noah was, she could still sense this strong pull toward Raphael. No one was as handsome as him in her eyes. Raphael's black hair resembled his midnight black wolf. He had deep, piercing, raven eyes that could strip her soul naked. He had a taller, angular, square chin and large, wide jaw. No wonder every girl found herself admiring that demigod. It's not that Noah wasn't good-looking. That was only a perception that varied from one person to another. Elsa's heart still ached for Raphael. Consequently, she couldn't feel anything for anyone except him. She cursed herself for feeling like that. She wanted to appreciate the magnificent wolf seated beside her, embrace his beauty, and move on with her life. But she found herself tormented by memories of Raphael, who cheated on her in every possible manner. "You're lost, and you didn't answer me." Noah interrupted her chain of thoughts. She was grateful he did that.
No. I mean, yes. I wonder why you don't enjoy the party.
Elsa pulled a smile. Well, I'm not the one with that kind of urge anymore. I had a mate once, Noah said in a matter-of-fact tone. Elsa could understand that. She didn't feel any pull or heat after mating with Raphael. She only had sex with him once, but Noah had marked Fiona.
I'm sorry, I should have known,
Elsa apologized. It's okay. Do you have a mate? You too are sitting here alone. Many hungry wolves have other thoughts, but you seem uninterested, Noah asked. He knew he should have waited, but he was inquisitive. He needed to know. Elsa had no sexual frenzy like most of the ones here. Elsa kept quiet for a while. Her eyes glistened as she wondered what she should answer to that question. It was not like something she wanted to discuss. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. Whatever you feel like sharing, you know you can, Noah consoled her. He cursed himself for making her feel that way. Whatever had happened between her and her mate was not good. If she wasn't ready to trust him and share, he would wait. Now that you're not enjoying how any other wolf is enjoying this party, do you want to go for a run early? Noah suggested. He too wanted to escape the indiscreet gaze of other wolves, especially those of the Pearl Moon pack. They had no clue about him, so they hit on him all the time. He was tired and irritated of rejecting their advances, but for the most part, he wanted more time alone with Elsa.
I suppose we could.
Elsa accepted it as they started walking toward the tree line. Elsa got behind a tree and undressed before turning into her gorgeous wolf. Not far behind, Noah shifted into his humongous gray wolf. Soon they ran deep into the woods. Elsa's wolf was fast, and Noah's wolf was having trouble matching her speed. She was a runner. He couldn't help but wonder if the pack doctor was correct. Once Noah felt that they were away from the other wolves, but not too deep inside the wood, he tried to talk with Elsa with the pack link. Elsa, can you hear me? He asked a few times before Elsa answered. Stop, Noah asked.
No, let's go to the water body. I'm going to get comfortable overnight getting naked in front of you,
Elsa bickered. Noah growled at that, but followed her to the water body. Elsa had already managed to reach there and was waiting for him with a pair of boxers. She was wearing a small nightgown that hardly covered her beautiful figure, but as she said, she was not naked. Noah's wolf grabbed the pair of boxers in his mouth and went behind a tree. Not long after, he emerged in his human form. Elsa gulped a chunk of saliva, seeing his bare torso. She made a terrible mistake by forgetting his shirt. "You prepared quite well," Noah chuckled as he walked towards Elsa. He was trying to keep his eyes off of Elsa, as he knew she would give him a hard time in that dress. He was barely able to handle himself around her.
Yeah,
Elsa smiled nervously.
can I ask you something?
She looked at him with expectant eyes. His stomach flip-flopped because of their proximity and condition as he sat beside her. Noah nodded his head as he sat near Elsa. He knew this was coming. He'd had several questions for her.
Why did you ask me not to disclose my real identity at the ceremony earlier?
Elsa asked. Noah took a deep breath before sighing. He was sure about nothing. What the doctor said was too confusing. When you were injured after the attack, the doctor took blood samples from you and a few tests, and then she was running some tests on the man's blood after you. You asked for this. The doctor found similarities between the two specimens, but the trace of the foreign body was too insignificant in the man's blood to find anything certain. She said she found very little trace of your blood. She can't say how much and what, but she is certain your blood and what the man swallowed have some similarities, Noah explained to Elsa. Noah was unsure if it was the right move, but there was no reason to withhold it from Elsa. But the thing that bothered him the most was whether the two were alike. If so, will he still regard Elsa as an opal? Can he? The sires destroyed his pack and killed his mother. He swore an oath to destroy them all. But is he capable of hurting Elsa? He hoped that the doctor was wrong.
I have been hiding something from you,
Elsa confessed. She knew she had to tell Noah about what the beast had said about her. They'd already found out so much on their own. Her lie would only make things more complicated. What? Noah asked, pissed. He was not sure what he was upset about more. There was so much Elsa was hiding. Although he can understand this part, he didn't always find it easy. Also, his fear was all over the place. After a long time, he felt attracted to someone, and she was a lot more complicated than anyone. He feared his heart would end up crushed a lot harder this time. Would he be able to bear another heartbreak?
The beast. He said that we were similar. He even drank from me to confirm that.
Elsa looked down as she spoke about it. She could feel goosebumps all over her body. Last night was terrible, and Elsa didn't sleep well at all. Every time she tried to sleep, she would dream of the beast. Why did you hide that from us? Noah groaned. It was an important piece of information that she was withholding from him. He felt betrayed and annoyed. He wanted to scold her, but when he looked at her, his heart melted. Elsa was weeping quietly. She looked shattered and lonely. He could tell she was far more scared than she was showing. He immediately felt sorry as he pulled her into a hug. The moment Elsa hit his firm torso, all her self-control broke. There were too many emotions troubling her. She cried her heart out. She cuddled next to him, trying to find some comfort and solace. She was tired of everything. All her life she had been rejected and was lonely, and it felt good and scary to find someone next to her when she needed it. Noah deepened the embrace and moved his hands about her back to comfort her. He was shocked to discover that side of him. Noah was the emotionless alpha, and yet was melting for this girl. She could be everything he hated, but still he felt drawn to her like no other. He and his wolf had a strong urge to protect her and fight for her. He couldn't ignore that.
She was growing on him. "Help me," she finally spoke in between sobs. "I will. I promise," Noah promised her. He knew he would, even if that promise was not made out loud. "He haunts me. The beast haunts me. He's managed to forge a bond with me, and now he wants me. I'm scared. I can't be like him. I can't be the abomination like everyone believed me to be." She burst into another round of tears. She kept hitting his toned chest again and again to prove a point that was not even there. Noah let her hit him as much as she wanted till she calmed down and rested her head on his chest. He pulled her towards him to ease her. At least now he knows why she was scared. Whatever that thing was after Elsa, and he needed to protect her. If this is a war about Elsa, he will die happy while fighting for her. But the only thing he wanted more was that he wanted to live with Elsa. Chapter 19. Man of Her Dreams. "I think we ought to leave." Noah pulled Elsa out of the hug when the bell rang for the second time. They could not have anybody else questioning anything. The pack might not be ready to accept anything as of now. They had to go back for Elsa to finish her run with the rest of the pack. At that moment, Elsa realized she had been holding on to Noah the whole time. How desperate was she? She should have greater emotional control. She tried to calm herself by placing herself at a distance between them. Noah felt great pain as she walked away from him. He wanted to hold her a little longer, lie down next to her and cuddle, but he knew better. He said nothing and turned into his wolf, followed by Elsa. "One last thing. Are you hiding anything else from me?" Noah's wolf asked Elsa through the pack link. Elsa seemed perplexed for a moment before realizing that she had not yet informed Noah of her doubts about the pack link. Well, she wasn't sure if she could reach anybody like an alpha or if it was a one-time thing. That could have been Raphael as well. "I don't know if it matters or if it's accurate or not. I could hear a lot of wolves at random as soon as the ceremony was over earlier today," Elsa responded. Noah snarled at that. "We shall discuss this later. Don't try to make more connections than 5 tonight." He used his alpha voice to command her, unaware that it had no effect on her. Her safety was Noah's top priority, attraction or not. She was an opal now. They both ran towards the tree line where several wolves impatiently awaited them with Kira in the front. They all howled and whimpered like they were squabbling over something, but one growl from Noah and they all stayed silent. The remaining wolves, such as Kira, who had not yet shifted, quickly shifted to their wolves. As soon as Elsa came on board, they all ran together deep into the wood. It wasn't as long as it was with Noah. Well, she and Noah barely ran, but the run was very effective under Kira's direction. Elsa was a quick learner. In no time she could make the connection and also block it if necessary. Later that night, Kira stayed out again. Likely she was out with the beta continuing her rendezvous. Elsa wondered if they could hit it off, but she also understood it could be the alcohol or the heat. Elsa went into her room, cleaned herself up, and she was tired and fell asleep in the blink of an eye. She was asleep in peace when she heard noises coming from around her. She woke up immediately to realize that she was not in the pack house anymore. She was in the woods, and it was foggy. She could barely see a thing through the thick fog. She panicked. She wanted to stand up and escape, but it was like she was glued to that spot. No matter how much she tried, she could not budge. She tried to scream for help, but it was as if the air was drawn from her lungs with force whenever she tried to make a sound. Fear invaded her mind as she tried to flee. She was panting and sweating. She was on the brink of a nervous breakdown when she realized it was probably a dream. She struggled to wake up, but all her efforts were fruitless. The more she tried, the more she was running out of air. It was at this point that she heard a rustling noise coming from her left side. Panic set in as she curled into a ball of fear. She heard the sound of the figure approaching, stepping over twigs and dried leaves. It was increasing as it got close to her. She slammed her eyes closed in fear. She knew it was the beast. This time he had better control over her. Would he possess her too? Or worse, find her? She could sense an imposing figure descending to her level. Her heart raced while she felt two deep, penetrating eyes burning holes through her. She didn't look up because of the fear, while terror slipped into her body. The figure stretched out his hand to Elsa. As he touched her, she screamed her lungs out as she tried to push him away. She wanted to wake up, but she wasn't able to. The figure sitting next to her was no beast. It was a man, a very handsome man in his middle ages. He had silver hair like her, but had yellow eyes instead of her shimmering silver eyes. Elsa trembled with fear as the man attempted to touch her again. This time he pushed back a few strands of Elsa's hair and tucked them back behind her ears to get a better look at her frightened face. Elsa was gasping for breath while trying to free herself. The man chuckled maliciously. "You are beautiful, but not what I thought of. Who are you?" He left a sinister smile on his face. Elsa didn't say anything. Her heart was pounding wildly as she struggled for control. She tried to overcome her fear and break the invisible shackles that held her back. She could feel the power surge through her momentarily before fear crept in again as he pulled out an ugly scowl. But soon the air around her calmed down and she was able to move somewhat freely. She knew it was her cue to run. She didn't blink until she rose and ran for her life, but soon the ground became blurred as she took hold of reality. She could feel people shaking her, and soon she could hear Kira and Noah. They tried to reach out to her. Putting all of her might, she managed to wake up. She was breathing heavily, exactly like her dream. She was sweating and gasping. Kira quickly brought her some water, and she gulped it down in one go, needing more. "Your eyes," Kira said. "What about my eyes?" Elsa looked at Kira and then for some mirror when she remained silent. Everyone else was silent. It was an eerie moment. Elsa jumped out of her bed and rushed towards the bathroom, looking for a mirror. She could not believe anything she saw. It was not hers. What was she? Her eyes were gold with no trace of silver, just like the man of her dreams. How was that possible? Did he infect her in some way? Was she one of them now? The beast? She would rather be dead. She would never hurt someone. She burst into tears. Why was any of this happening to her? She finally found a pack where she could live a normal life like any other wolf, but fate had returned to playing with her. What did she do to deserve such a life? Why can't she have love and comfort? Noah struggled within himself. He couldn't act as he felt. He wanted to get close to Elsa and cheer her up, but there were things here that were too troubling and mysterious. What was she? What if he was letting a monster inside the pack? He was going insane. His heart would never agree that Elsa could bring any harm, but he was an alpha. He could not get rid of his instincts or his questions. He had a duty towards his pack. Moreover, they were not in their territory. They were in Pearl Moon Pack's borders. What if they find out about her true nature? Before the matter could get out of hand, Noah asked Kira and the pack doctor to leave the room. He promised them that he would attempt to learn more. He also asked them to keep it quiet for a while he tried to figure it out. Kira looked down upon Noah with horror but couldn't suppress his alpha tone. She had to be obedient to him beyond her instincts. As soon as the two departed, Noah shut the door and rushed to Elsa. She was torn apart and crying, sitting with her head in her lap in the washroom. It was the second time that night that he'd seen her in such a vulnerable position. His heart ached for her. He wondered if the beast did something to her in the dream. She told him earlier that the beast tormented her and had succeeded in establishing a link with her. "Elsa, I'm right here. Noah approached her patiently. He sat next to her while she wept. He knew she needed time, and he would be right by her side when she was ready to speak. Elsa looked up to see Noah's familiar face. For a second she wished it was Raphael. He should be here with her. But it was Noah who was there instead, comforting her. Elsa whimpered at her fate. I should go, she said with a broken voice, confounding Noah. Why? I promised you I will protect you, Noah pleaded. His heart was torn at the thought of getting away from Elsa. I am bad. I'm an abomination. I'm not even sure what I am. I don't want to hurt anybody, Elsa wailed. You are nothing of the sort. It's the beast. We will figure it all out. Trust me, Noah consoled her. Elsa didn't reply and stared at him blankly. She felt vulnerable and needed some support. How did she get so lucky as to find him? Will he fight for her? The next moment she hugged Noah, who enveloped her in his strong arms. It was as if two lovers received a little warmth in a tight embrace. She looked at him with consternation and expectation. Noah wiped her tears and picked her up in a bridal style. Elsa did not protest. She felt rather good about it, as it gave her some peace of mind. She didn't wish to be alone ever again. She placed her head on his firm chest and clenched her grip around Noah's neck. Noah's heart skipped a beat at that. He put her on the bed and sat next to her. There were no words uttered, yet too much warmth was exchanged between them. When Noah got up to leave, Elsa stopped him. She held out his hands and pulled him a little to insinuate that she did not wish to be left alone. She was looking at him with her big, beautiful eyes. Noah was slightly happy at that. She was starting to trust him even though she wasn't feeling the same for him. He slipped into the comforter while she made room for him. Your eyes. They're back to normal now, Noah informed her. He knew she would feel better about it. Thank you. There were too many things about which Elsa was grateful, but most of all because he chose to be here in her life voluntarily. Nothing meant more to her than the acceptance he manifested towards her. She cuddled a little more, making Noah uncomfortable in the wrong places and still satisfied. He traced his long fingers over her beautiful silver traces. He could feel her breath getting even with each passing second. I'm here with you now. Do you want to sleep or talk? Noah asked. He was aware of her fear, but he knew she needed some rest. When she did not reply, he checked on her. She was sleeping peacefully without any trace of fear or worry. She looked calm and serene. Noah's eyes went to her plump, luscious lips. His heart raced a little as naughty thoughts crossed his mind. He wanted to taste them. Hell, he was a grown man. He had a basket full of needs, but he would happily settle for that kiss now. Unknowingly or knowingly, Noah moved towards her perturbed, inviting lips. Their lips were inches apart when he got bolder and rubbed her chin with his thumb. Raphael, Elsa mumbled. He was about to steal the kiss from Elsa when he heard her murmur someone else's name. His heart broke into 1,000 pieces as he pulled apart and walked away. Chapter 20. Divinia. Jera got restless all night, to the point where Raphael had to go for a midnight run. He couldn't comprehend the abrupt things he was experiencing lately. At odd times, Raphael felt strange, intense emotions. Sometimes he felt like Elsa was reaching out to him, and others like it was a distress call. He was beginning to feel insane. Raphael was thankful to Jander and Divinia for helping him carry out his duties as the Pack Alpha. Since he named Divinia the Luna, there was so much weight that she had taken away from him. He couldn't be grateful enough. Divinia was ideal Luna material. He wondered what he would do when she met her mate. A chosen mate was out of the question. He knew she loved him, something he could never return now. He knew what it meant to lose the mate, and he did not want that for anyone. Jera could sniff the presence of another wolf right around the corner. It was Davinia again. He felt helpless. No matter how hard he tried to explain it, Davinia still had hope for them. She never said a word or intruded on his business, but in secrecy, she loved him.
I can smell you, Davinia.
Raphael used the mind link. Davinia emerged from behind a tree as she posed next to Raphael's wolf next to the riverbed. Her wolf was a magnificent white and gray wolf. The breeze was soothing, but both Raphael and Davinia knew there was a storm racing through Raphael's heart. Raphael shifted into his human form, followed by Davinia. He looked over at her delicate yet beautiful body. There was a time when Raphael got mad over it, but now he felt next to nothing. Davinia avoided Raphael's gaze. She couldn't stand his empty eyes. There was so much emotion for her once, and now there's nothing. She wondered, who was that girl? What if she had lived that day? Raphael would have gotten the entire world for her. He was going crazy. They say that the connections become blurred over time, but Raphael didn't even mark Elsa. Yet he mourned for her every day. How long does she have to wait before Raphael can get past Elsa?
How long are you going to wait for her? We both saw her fall. No one could survive that, Raphael.
Davinia spoke as she sat on the ground. The cool breeze on her naked body felt good. She hoped that Raphael would kiss her and make love to her like old times. Instead, Raphael wasn't even looking at her.
What if you find your mate someday, Davinia?
Raphael questioned her.
Well, it's good that we get one less thing to worry about.
She laughed.
No, I would never deprive you of that, Davinia. You deserve genuine love.
Raphael looked at her with too much pain in his eyes. He was feeling sorry for her.
No, it's not you. My mate is dead. A long time ago.
Davinia opened up about her dark past, shocking Raphael. How could he have missed this? Davinia was not born in Black Moon's pack. Her father accepted her as a member of the Black Moon pack. She proved herself worthy with her skills and dedication, and she's been here for Raphael since the two met. How lost was he in this world to even care about her past? Was he interested in finding out? Not once he tried. It was always about the crazy sex or his whims and wishes. What about her? Even now he made her a Luna because of his selfish reasons. He didn't feel the need to ask whether she wanted to be a part of it all. How hard was he on her? He looked at her with delinquent eyes as guilt ran past his body. Not only Elsa, but he was hurting Davinia too. He looked at her blue eyes. It was such a rare eye color, but it suited her well and made her look rare and exquisite. She could have any wolf or human she wanted, but she dedicated her life to him.
How did he die?
Raphael asked. He wanted to find out something about her.
Are we talking about this now?
Davinia laughed as she looked at him with suspicious eyes.
Only if you want to share. I'm sorry. I should have probably asked you this a long time back. I was a real asshole.
Raphael had no intention to hurt her anymore. He would be there for her from now on.
People are assholes, Raphael. You ought to find the good ones. You are one of the better ones underneath all that big bad wolf image,
Davinia retorted. Thank you for being there always, Raphael said from his heart, and he meant it.
A wolf killed him. I'm not entirely sure if it was a wolf. We met and we felt the attraction. Nothing happened between us, so it's okay. I never had to go through the pain that you're going through. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones.
Davinia opened up about the death of her mate.
Is that why you left your old pack?
Raphael realized that he didn't even know the real reason why Davinia had left her previous pack. She was a strong wolf. They would never banish her. Or did they? If yes, why?
Yes, they thought it was my fault. I was there with my mate the day the rogues killed him. We just wanted to see if we were mates, and we had strolled a bit too far in the woods. I felt broken, and I didn't feel the need to explain to them. I discovered he was my mate just before he got killed, right in front of my eyes. I was without family, so I didn't see the need to fight back and stay with a pack who thought so low of me.
Davinia explained the situation under which she had to leave her earlier pack. Raphael couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She'd suffered a lot, but he was grateful that his father saw her for who she was and could be. Their loss was Black Moon's gain.
You don't have to worry about the Luna thing. If I ever found someone to marry, I will happily step down. Until then, I will carry it out for her. I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
Davinia smirked at her fate. She thought once that she and Raphael had a shot. The two of them had something so close to love.
You're the best, Davinia. I wish I could give you what you want, but it looks like my heart left with Elsa that day. I don't feel anything other than void that yearns for Elsa and her love.
Raphael needed to say that to her. He cannot give her false hopes. He'd already brought a lot of damage to Davinia.
Are you feeling well now?
Davinia questioned, ignoring his words. Raphael nodded his head in response. He needed that talk.
Then I suppose you should rest a bit. Tomorrow's a big day. We have to induct all those wolves. I will go back in a while. It's nice out here,
Davinia advised him. Raphael got up, shifted into his wolf. He knew Davinia was right. He needed sleep. He couldn't go on like that anymore. Once Davinia was confident she was alone, she stood up and walked towards the water. Her eyes were twinkling as it became a paler version of her original blue. It could be because of the effect. She leapt into the river and began swimming, but soon it was as if the river had a mind of its own, and it began to push Davinia towards the opposite side of the Eastern Territory. As she emerged from the river, the water droplets clung to her body like her neck's skin, covering her private parts. She looked like the water goddess.
It's not wise for you to come so close to the land,
Davinia called to someone.
Are you sad I interrupted your rendezvous with that alpha of yours?
A man stepped out from behind the tree line. He had a sinister scowl on his face. He appeared spooky in the ominous silence that followed his entrance.
We are not that close yet. I'm doing my best,
Davinia said in a vanquished but angry tone. How dare he mock her for her failures like that? It's not like he'd succeeded in anything.
We were wrong. Maybe it is a good thing that the toy boy of yours is, after all, not the mate of the girl we've been looking for all these years. I had a vision of her. She is nothing like we expected. She's still weak and oblivious to her real potential, but I could feel the scent of a powerful alpha on her. The man gave her the latest news.
Are you suggesting there is another alpha stronger than Raphael? How could it be? He's got the midnight black wolf. So don't you think the white wolf would be his mate? Are you so sure?
Davinia looked puzzled. How could she get it wrong? There was no way that there could be another complete black wolf.
She may not be so strong as Raphael, or he might be. But he is powerful enough to leave his aura on her and follow her even in her dreams.
It is so uncommon, the man groaned. Davinia was perplexed. So she was wasting all her time all these years?
Then I have no business here. We must find the girl and her mate. Are they in the Eastern Territory, Father?
Davinia felt like a complete loser. She'd spent so much of her time and energy on Raphael that never really worked on him as well. He was still lamenting over Elsa. What is done, but you cannot join me. I don't know how, but Raphael will play a key part in all of this. We might have got it all wrong. Probably the Midnight Wolf is her royal guard or something, and not her mate the entire time. You need to be here in the Black Moon Pack as an insider till we attack the Moonlit City." The man went through the plan. Davinia shook her head as the man vanished into the air. She marched towards the river to return to the territory of the Black Moon. As she walked, a twisted grin settled on her face. Years ago, when she was living in a pack with her father looking for the Midnight Wolf, she met a lowly Omega Wolf. In the first instant, she knew he was her mate. Regular wolves can only feel a small amount of attraction towards their mate that they might even push away until there's some real physical connection. But she descended from the pure blood line. For her, the pull was stronger and more clear. She knew if she ever mated to that wolf, she would have to settle down with him. It would be really difficult to break that bond. So she lured him to the borders of the pack and killed him in cold blood. Someone from the pack saw it and informed the others before she finished him. They banished her and her father, but later that night, they killed the entire pack. How could she forget that Luna of their pack, who cried out for mercy to save the life of her beloved son? She died protecting him. The Luna could have taken the deal and become part of their mission. She was probably stronger than the Alpha that died in the first strike. She could have lived, but no. She had to die. She wondered whether the boy lived that day. There were very few survivors. He would have turned into a man as handsome as his father. She flashed a vile smirk that was creepy in every sense.